but it's nice to see so many of you in the on the call. You're really most welcome. We're really happy to have you all here. We are going to do this this webinar is about adaptations and about a resource, Adaptation Journeys, that a small group of us have been working on, and we hope to expand out to more and more people and many of you. So we're going to go through that today and really focus in on what it means to do adaptation for violence against women prevention programming. My name is Lori Michaud. I have had the pleasure of working with this group over the last couple years and shepherding this process with Womanity. And we have to first give special thanks to Liesl and Paula at SVRI, who are our partners and co-hosts of this webinar. And as I said, Womanity has been leading this process since 2024. Laura Samogdi is not here. She's the director, one of the co-directors at Womanity. She's at Climate Week in London, so can't be with us. But Carol Shabiri is here. And if you don't know Carol, you will soon. She's a feminist based in Uganda. She has over 15 years of experience working on advancing justice. She's a human rights lawyer, and she really focuses on vulnerable communities, especially women and children. She's currently working with Humanity's Freedom from Violence program to support adaptation and scale of innovation of vow prevention programs in the Global South. And Carol is just going to give a very quick welcome. So Carol, over to you.
Thank you so much, Lori. Thank you, everyone, for logging on, for joining us for this very wonderful conversation. We are very happy that you're interested in adaptation of violence against women and girls prevention programs. Womanity is a global organization that works to advance gender equality. And what we do mainly in the Global South is really our Freedom from Violence program that focuses on supporting ecosystem building and adaptation. Womanity also does other things. We work on education, we work on women's land rights, and we also work in media to try and ensure that there is a lot of gender sensitivity in that space as well. So I'd like to welcome you on behalf of Laura, who is unable to be with us today. I'd like to welcome you and to let you know that we are so happy that you have joined us. We have been working on adaptation for the last 12 years now. We currently have a running project that we're supporting in Cape Verde. We are so happy that one of the team members implementing at the forefront of implementing that adaptation, which is from Brazil to Cape Verde, is right here and will be speaking to you and sharing their experience. So we are really excited that that is happening. And yes, we have worked in different parts of the Global South, adapting different kinds of vow prevention programs, and have seen a lot of success and a lot of potential. So thank you very much for taking interest. We are very keen on building a community of practice around adaptation and to advance adaptation as really a strategy that works well to prevent violence against women and girls. So thank you so much. Back to you, Lori.
Great. Thanks, Carol. Next slide, please, Paula. So welcome, everybody. I see some folks are introducing yourself in the chat. That's fantastic. If everybody could, that would be great. You can just say your name and where you're from. That would be fantastic. It's really nice to see so many familiar names and also some new ones. So that's always fun. Everyone is really welcome. Today we are in a conference modality in Zoom, and so what that means is you will have to use the Q&A feature to ask questions. Folks will remain muted, unfortunately, but that's how this format works. And so you're welcome to use the chat, and then when we go to the Q&A section, we'll move to the Q&As. We do want you to know that there is simultaneous translation today happening in Portuguese. Mateus is on the line with us and helping us. There, if you need interpretation or want interpretation, you just select the globe icon at the bottom. It's inside the little more circle, and just select your language of choice. Yeah, and it will be simultaneous for you. If you have any questions or need help with that, please let us know in the chat, and we can help you with that. All right. Great. So we see, let's see, we're seeing folks, um, let's see, some folks from SVRI, some folks from Haiti. That's nice. Um, let's see, from Kenya. Welcome, George. Carme from Atlanta, um, Barbara in Johannesburg, Yasmin. That's great. You're all really welcome. And please continue to just introduce yourself. It makes, even though we have to stay in conference mode, it helps make us a little bit closer to each other. So we appreciate that. All right, next slide, please, Paula. So, as you know, the co-host of this webinar is SVRI, and I just wanted to spend a couple minutes on the SVRI forum in 2026, which is just around the corner. This is one of the conversations leading up to it, and I think and I hope that many of you will want to be part of what's coming next. So, if you don't know and haven't registered already, the forum is the 5th to the 9th in October, and it's going to be in Bangkok this year. It is actually the world's largest abstract-driven conference on research, evidence, and practice to end violence against women and children and other forms of gender-based violence. If you've been there before, you know it's an absolutely fantastic space. And this year, SVRI is going back to Thailand, again, for reasons of justice, visa justice and accessibility, so that as many colleagues as possible can be in the room. Even in these difficult times, we are expecting over 1,500 people from all over the world, including researchers and practitioners, activists, policymakers, survivors, and funders. And this year, because it's in Thailand, and there's so much work being done in the region, SVRI is co-hosting with the Southeast Asia GBV Prevention Platform, which you probably have seen. And if you haven't, please check it out. It's fantastic. And the UN Joint Program on GBV Prevention in Southeast Asia. So really what makes the forum different is that all of us shape it, right? Many of you might have been reviewing some of the abstracts. There were over 2,100 abstracts submitted this year, and 193 people from 40 countries reviewed them. So if you also were one of the abstract reviewers, you definitely have a say in what's going to be at the forum. And it's really that sort of space and vibe. There's going to be lots going on at the forum this year. There's work on climate. There is a strong focus and spotlight on the work that's coming out of Southeast Asia and the Pacific. And of course, we really will always stay focused on key issues around violence against children, femicide, survivor-centered justice, and of course, practical questions of implementation, adaptation, and scaling. And actually, this group, Adaptation Journeys group, met at the last forum in 2024, and we'll share a little bit more about that. But it is a fantastic space to meet other colleagues. There are a few ways to take part. Just come. Yeah, the registration is open. That's the best way. Come, be there, engage, learn. You can host your own side event along with the main program, or do networking meetings, plan a session. There's an exhibition booth to showcase the work, which is always a very lively part of the forum. The Young Research and Practitioner Awards will also return this year, recognizing emerging leaders in the field. And if there are early career colleagues or those from low and middle income countries in your networks who should be part of this conversation, really encourage them to participate and join. Who is in the room really shapes what evidence is heard. So As you know, just finally, there'll be well-being, as SVRI always does so well, centers well-being and collective care. It's really built into the forum with counseling and quiet spaces, art, fun, and dance. So it will all be there. So try to register 5th to 9th October in Bangkok. And conversations like today are really building towards the forum. So we hope that you'll be able to be there. Right. Next slide, please, Paula. All right, so I'm so happy today to introduce you to the Adaptation Journeys community. As I said, we did, under the leadership of Womanity, we gathered as a diverse group of practitioners and activists from 12 different countries during the 2024 forum, just to share experiences and ideas. And actually, there was so much to talk about and so much engagement and richness, we decided to keep talking and not only keep talking, but actually build some things that we feel would have been helpful for us in terms of adaptation and the broader field. And that's where the microsite grew out of. You can read all about the members and their work on the site, but just know that all of this work truly emerges from practice-based learning. That's the whole heart of this microsite. It's the people doing the work day in and day out. And you can see their smaller pictures, but all those folks along the bottom were also part of this process. So we just pulled out the speakers for today, but everyone has been a critical part of the process. And even the last three folks in there are the designers who put together the microsite and are fantastic. So I'm happy to introduce the speakers today. First, we have Nasanet Gebrabranhe. She is the co-director of Raising Voices, a global feminist organization which is based in Uganda. She oversees the dynamic vow prevention program and carries out all the executive functions of the organization. She's been engaged in violence prevention for a long time, since 2001, and has worked in humanitarian settings, conflict, and natural disaster. She has worked in East and West Africa, Southeast Asia, and is now based in Kampala. She supports efforts across the region, adapting and scaling of evidence-based vow prevention approaches, movement building efforts, and learning and influencing towards building a resilient and healthy ecosystem. Nasna is most welcome. We also have, as Carol said, we have Evelyn Nair Tavares. She's a social worker with 20 years of professional experience. She's based in Cabo Verde, and she's going to be sharing about her work there. She has really dedicated the last decade to promoting gender equality, and she currently coordinates programs focused on gender equality and combating GBV. Her main focus is protection of vulnerable groups and strengthening institutional responses. She really stands out for her ability to integrate a gender perspective into social projects, really trying to ensure inclusive and equitable interventions. She holds a degree in social work, a postgraduate degree in criminology and social intervention, and is pursuing a master's degree in public policy and local development. So that's a lot of info. You will hear from them very shortly. But what we're going to do is just share with you. Next slide, please, Paula. We're just going to share a brief overview of the webinar. We've just introduced the speakers. They're going to come up very soon. I'm going to do a very quick walkthrough of the microsite, and then the main area of conversation is going to be talking with Nair and Nesanet about their practice of adaptation. We'll do a Q&A, and then we'll close out with some resources and suggestions and invitations for all of you. But first, we're going to do a Menti to try to see how you are understanding adaptation. So we'd love for you to go. I think many of you know the whole situation with Menti. You just go to menti.com and type in the code. It's in the chat. It's going to be in the chat. And the code is 45461859. And Paula is going to, so you can just type in what word you associate with adaptation. And Paula will share with us the results of the Menti. So you can see flexibility. Many people have said, because when the word gets huge, it's a often repeated word. So we've got learning, collaboration, negotiation, resilience, curiosity, creativity. Um, uh, Paula, I think you have to just refresh. There you go. Scaling, context, alignment, proximity, that's a good one. Um, movement, adjustment, contextualization. Yeah. Resilience is coming up just as large. Paul, if you can refresh one more time. I'm not sure why it's not doing it by itself. There you go. You can see also resilience is there. So it's really true, right? This work, adaptation is incredibly dynamic and so many things. There's so many aspects of it that we need to consider and think about and ensure that we're doing it in a way that is safe for communities. All right. So, Paula, if I can share my screen, I will do a little walkthrough of the site. All right, can everyone see that? I hope you can all see that fine. Carol, can you give me a thumbs up if you can see it? Yeah, you're good? Okay, great. Okay, perfect. So, this group that met at SVRI really just met to talk and exchange stories. And what we found is there were so many similarities and so much learning from each other that we just sort of kept on going. And then we thought, well, let's document this. And instead of doing a PDF or, a document that someone would read or a very heavy website, we would create something different that almost like represents the journey of adaptations. Yeah. And it's really organized around the experiences of partners. The site is really trying to solve a problem, right? Most of us didn't invent our programs that we're working on. We're adapting something that works somewhere else. Um, and adaptation often feels like it should be straightforward. You take the model, you swap some examples for local context, you translate, and you're all set. But actually, it's never that simple. And every team that does this well will tell you it's full of trade offs. What do you keep? What do you let go of? What gets decided? Who decides it? And how? Those are really critical questions that can make or break an adaptation. So this website and microsite exists really to make the messiness kind of more visible. So when you go to the microsite, here, this is the homepage. You'll see it, and it's the first thing you'll notice, it isn't really a typical website with, headers and downloadable PDFs. It's really an illustrated trail. It's got trees, it's got a cliff, it's got river crossings, hikers on a path, and that's really deliberate. The visual is deliberate because all the site tries to represent what adaptation is, right? That it is a journey. It goes through different and difficult terrain. So that's the intention of trying to make it, an interactive, immersive experience that you can engage in. So you'll see on the site, there are these red flags. And instead of trying to show the perfect programs that we all have and all the shiny perfection, we really said, actually, let's show some of the messiness and some of the things that didn't work, because often we can learn much more from that than the examples of perfect programming. So if you click on the red flags, you'll go over to a pitfall. So this first one is moving too fast, too soon. I think anyone has done adaptation has probably done this. We get the grant, we kind of want to go for it, and we just dive right in. Well, that can lead to a whole range of really not good problems. So here we describe the pitfall. What does it mean? Why is it a problem to move too fast? And then the learning in a digestible, small framework, right? So, how the pitfall was overcome. And then here we're hearing from Carol about this pitfall. And there's an audio. So, you can not just, people learn in lots of different ways. You don't just have to read it, but you can also listen. And I won't go through each one, but there are a variety of pitfalls on the main page, and we actually hope to include more. So if you have pitfalls that you think, oh my gosh, this happens to us every time, or this major thing happened to us during our adaptation, tell us, and we will include it. This is a resource for the field, and each one of these pitfalls is a moment in somebody's real programming, a decision that had to be made, a misstep that was taken. It's real life programming. So that's an important part of this of the site, and you can go through and look through it on your own. And then I won't click through all of them, but the idea is really to move away from abstract principles and checklists to get grounded, specific, real information from teams who've done this work. So next we can go to the signpost page. This is organized into 3 groups, and the structure alone can be useful actually for your own team's reflection. The first is caution points, right? What are the warning signs that help us see that we're drifting off course? Things like maybe it doesn't, trainings that don't help staff explore their own biases around gender and power, too little time invested in building trust, all sorts of things. So these are really critical ones that if you're seeing these, you need a second look and more reflection within your adaptation program. And then speed bumps. The speed bumps is really a forward-looking section. It really asks key questions of what adaptation needs and account for this world that's changing super fast, right? Climate change, repressive governments, ending funding, what does it mean to do ethical exit? So these are questions to ask during our adaptation processes that help us get better programming because we're forward thinking and strategic thinking. And then we have the green lights, of course, which we all love. And these usually predict success. It's not at all what you might think around fidelity and content. It's actually more like some of the softer skills, as people say, that you really need to make an adaptation program successful. Things like emotional intelligence, things like trying to really help a team understand this work at a deep personal level, how to negotiate with funders for terms that actually support quality programming. So all sorts of pieces that recognize that adaptation success, it can be successful or fail, really because more of relationships and how we work together. And then we've got a tips and tools section. And this is also for 4 different groups. So if you're a funder, here's some real things to watch for when you're funding programs on adaptation. Same for TA providers, practitioners, and researchers. And then very fun, we have a discussion guide, and it is for any team who's in the middle of a program doing adaptation, and how you can use some of the microsite to really support and strengthen your own programming on adaptation. And then, of course, some simple tools. We did not want to put everything under the sun in there. These are 3 that can be applicable to all sorts of folks doing this work. And then, of course, you can see and learn more about the people who are behind this on the About Us page. So that is a brief overview of the microsite. We hope that you can go back and explore it and, as I said, contribute to it because it's really a resource for all of us. It's not just for a small group. It's really ways of getting practice-based learning out into the world in accessible and dynamic ways that really reflect practitioner and activist learning. All right. Whew. Sorry, that took a little longer than I thought. All right, so we're going to move on to a discussion with Nasanet and Nair. And we are so happy to have them both. Nasanet, as I said, works across contexts and has been shepherding adaptation for quite some time at Raising Voices and even other places before that, really working on programming and survivor-centered work. So Nasanet, tell us a little bit of something about adaptation. Maybe you can share with us a moment or two in your adaptation that didn't go as planned. We don't want here's what went perfect, but what didn't go well? What were some of the challenges that you encountered?
Thank you, Lori. I'm so happy to be here, join the discussion and share Raising Voices experience in adapting SASA in many contexts. As you know, we have accumulated a long years of experience supporting SASA and SASA Together adaptation in different settings and different contexts. And these years have taught us, you don't have to expect your plan to roll out, but be prepared for unexpected things because you have to do some adjustment modifications along the way. For now, we have so many stories, but we have to be a bit picky for today. I'm going to share an example that is around fidelity, how it is very challenging to maintain fidelity while adapting a model. And the example revolves about one of the core principles of activism, as well as adapting for humanitarian context. So to start with, Raising Voices, SASA has 4 components. One of them is spirit of activism. What this means is it's about identifying passionate individuals in the community and supporting them to lead the program in their activity and engage the rest of the community. This principle is very, very important to boost ownership, community leadership, and cultivate the culture of activism that can create a lasting impact. So you can imagine how important it is to kind of maintain and protect this while adapting it. And when we took it to certain communities, especially in humanitarian context, it was not easy. Mm-hmm. It was faced or received with some challenges. And I'm going to highlight a couple of challenges. One is the challenge of incentive culture, where community members, especially activists and leaders, had high expectation of financial compensation to participate or to support or facilitate SASA activity. Of course, this is a common practice in humanitarian setting because that has been the culture, that has been the norm of doing programs in humanitarian culture. So it was not easy because SASA was designed with pure activism idea and notion. Another example is an example based on practice-based learning we did in Cox's Bazar, Bangladesh. When the program started, there was a huge challenge. Women were not willing to take up that activist role and lead and facilitate community activism because of the cultural norms and practices. And that stood up as like a big challenge because in SASA, women engage women and men engage men. So if we don't have women, that means we can't reach out to 51% of the community, of the population. So we learned, like be prepared to handle things that you're not expected, and something had to be done about this.
So what did you do? Were there trade-offs that you had to make? Like, how did you reconcile those? Because those are two important challenges that could affect, uptake and community acceptance. So what were some of the trade-offs you felt like you had to make? And yeah.
Yeah, definitely trade-offs is part of the journey. Compromise, as colleagues were saying, compromising negotiation has to happen to handle those issues. And then the trade-off, the adjustment is not like the same thing for everything. Even like when we did the research in 2028 to understand how SASA was adapted in different contexts, we look at programming being led by 3 different organizations in different settings. So they came across this challenge, but the way they handled it was different. They had to identify what works best for their context. Like, for example, in Haiti, Beyond Borders faced that issue. And what they did was, okay, we don't pay in like incentives or sort of salary. What they did was they start paying reimbursement, like financial reimbursement for transportation, and providing like snacks, food during trainings, and providing also mentoring and trainings. But when you come to Dadaab, IRC did not make any payment on cash payment, but they went for another form of compensation, which is material compensation, like gumboots, umbrellas, or kind of cash vouchers for participating in trainings where they can go and do groceries. So that was different. And when you go to WPC in Tanzania, the same context, post-humanitarian context, but what they did was they decided to make small amount of payment, which was like around 9 USD, and that was to kind of facilitate transportation. So you can see it's about, okay, what works best in our context. And then the other case of challenge in Cox's Bazar, where women were not really coming up to leadership role, UNHCR, UNFPA, and their partners had to really think about, okay, what can we do? And they decided to establish some support to women, like a coaching and mentoring support and leadership support, so they can really feel comfortable. And this was not part of the program design. They had to introduce it along the way. And part of this coaching involved inviting really inspirational women, other leaders in the community, to come and talk to the community activists. That was very helpful. It inspired community activists to kind of embrace the challenge, the positive challenge. And along the program, women like community activists, female community activists, were seen to be using more of their voices, standing up to the challenge and leading and facilitating conversation. And it had really helped to encourage other women to come to SASA together activities. So it has worked that way. Those are some of the trade-offs, the negotiations, and the creativities that were required to make adaptation work.
Thanks, Nathana. So can you just share like how you came to make those decisions? Because sometimes if there's like an originator and there is, for example, like a funder, and there is the activist organization, and then the community members, they're all wanting different things. So how did you kind of, decide how and who makes those decisions? And was there fallout from that? Or, yeah, how did it move forward?
In most cases, it required long-term, like it's not something you can discuss and discover the solution. It
Yeah.
required reflection, consultation at different levels, starting from the community, like staff had to speak to community members to understand the interest, the need, and the aspiration, but also other organizations who are operating on the same context and how they are handling that expectation, that culture. So that is one layer of consultation and reflection. But there was also another layer of consultation and reflection. In most of the programs, those programs, there were already committees established, like an adaptation committee to support and guide an adaptation process. So the committee were very helpful to really sit with the challenge, explore options, and advise strategies that kind of works for the community, but at the same time uphold the fidelity. And then another layer is like, for example, as originators, Raising Voices was walking along the partners as they were adapting and implementing SASA. So there was also another consultation when recommendation could come from the communities. Then we had also to say how those recommendation uphold the core components and values of SASA. So there were multiple consultation, reflection, and discussion. And then at the end, okay, so how do we merge them so that it balances the different needs? And I'm sure funders were also engaged because there were like some changes. For example, this additional coaching, leadership was something that needed to happen, and it was not part of the program. So it really requires broad consultation and engagement.
Thank you so much, Nesnet. And I imagine it sounds quite like neat and tidy, but I imagine it went on for a long time and was not easy at all. So yeah, I can see that that was probably, and some people might not be thrilled, right? With at the end of the day, what the decisions are. You can't make sort of everyone happy in adaptations. So yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Maybe Laurie, yes, the stories I shared are kind of a sneak peek of what is emerging, but if we want to read more, I think we have shared a link on the chat box so you can get a full story of those challenges. Thank you, Laurie.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Nesanet. Nair, we'll move over to you and hear a little bit about your experience of adaptation in Cabo Verde. One of the things that's been impressive about your program is that you've really tried to stay very committed to quality, to making sure that it's as rigorous and robust as possible. So can you share with us what helped you and your organization stay true to quality while adapting? And if you want to give a little highlight of the program so people know it, that would be great too.
Certo. Bom dia, boa tarde a todos e a todas. Eu sou a Nair Tavares, da Associação Cabo Verdeana de Luta contra a VBG, em Cabo Verde. Estamos muito felizes por estar aqui a compartilhar a nossa experiência, agradecendo a Womanity e a SVRI. Realmente, o nosso programa é um programa, o projeto é o projeto Flacim para Mulher, é um programa de empoderamento legal das mulheres líderes e ativistas comunitárias. Um programa que visa, sobretudo, a prevenção e o combate à violência nas comunidades, através da formação, do treinamento dessas lideranças para, posteriormente, fazer a atuação nas suas comunidades através de sessões de informação, consciencialização, levar as informações ao nível do direito de uma forma muito mais simples para as outras mulheres. No fundo, não é? Promover também a literacia jurídica para que as mulheres possam ter acesso a direito, também a promoção da cidadania. E este programa, e nós realmente em parceria com a TEMS, que é a nossa organização brasileira, que nossa parceira que detém essa metodologia há mais de 30 anos, não é? E essa parceria de transmissão, não é, dessa metodologia, adaptando a realidade de Cabo Verde, apesar do Brasil e Cabo Verde serem países, não é, com algumas similitudes, mas o nosso contexto é muito específico, e nós tivemos sempre essa visão inicialmente de qualidade, de implementar com qualidade, porque este programa para nós é realmente um programa de prevenção e trabalhando as comunidades, trabalhando as mulheres, trabalhando, informando, não é? Dando o poder das mulheres terem essas informações, vimos que realmente promove a consciencialização, promove a sensibilização e o impacto, não é, a médio e longo prazo, é a prevenção da violência. E para a qualidade, nós começamos por trabalhar, primeiramente, um dos exemplos concretos que nós vamos dar, começamos por analisar o nosso contexto. Como eu disse, apesar das similitudes, o contexto de Cabo Verde estudamos, não é? Inicialmente, tivemos um plano de estudo interno sobre o nosso contexto social, econômico, jurídico, para o entendimento, porque a nossa ideia também nunca foi copiar e colar a metodologia. Isto é muito importante também no processo de adaptação. Nunca era somente a questão da transmissão dessa metodologia, mas sim que essa metodologia adequasse ao nosso contexto. E, sobretudo, como é um projeto, é um programa de empoderamento legal, então debruçamos sobre o nosso contexto jurídico aqui em Cabo Verde. Pelo nosso contexto, as nossas mulheres têm muitas vulnerabilidades, não têm conhecimento jurídico, não têm muito acesso aos serviços da justiça porque é muito formal, não é? A linguagem é muito complicada e então e mesmo também a nossa legislação, a legislação VBG em Cabo Verde é diferente da legislação brasileira, que é uma legislação de combate à violência contra as mulheres. A nossa legislação é muito mais avançada porque já tem essa componente de género e é preciso estudar, ver essa especificidade. Nós fizemos tudo isso com especialistas, não é? Trouxemos especialistas para falarmos sobre isso internamente, debater essa questão, mas também o programa da TEMS continha, por exemplo, questões específicas relativas, dá muita ênfase à questão da temática, por exemplo, do racismo que afeta muito, não é, as mulheres no Brasil, que é um marcador fundamental no Brasil e que para nós é vista também de uma forma muito diferente, apesar de sermos uma sociedade de origem escravocrata também, mas a nossa visão sobre o racismo e essa temática incutida na nossa sociedade é vista de uma forma muito sutil e praticamente não se fala nisso em Cabo Verde. Então, tem esses contornos que nós, através dos estudos com especialistas concretos, falamos sobre a africanidade, debruçamos sobre essas questões para podermos rever como contornar e como também adaptar, não é bem contornar, mas como adaptar essas questões do programa à nossa realidade, falando sobre os aspectos concretos da nossa comunidade, nomeadamente sobre as questões do trabalho das mulheres, a legislação do trabalho para as mulheres, a questão da proteção da família para as nossas mulheres aqui em Cabo Verde, a questão da violência com base no género, conhecer também um pouco da nossa história aqui em Cabo Verde, nomeadamente a questão do africanismo, falar sobre o feminismo. Então, estas questões também porque ao fazer o estudo, não é, do nosso contexto, mas também a visita em loco, estar perto, não é, das nossas instituições e das nossas mulheres que são beneficiárias do projeto, também permitiu não é ter essa visão e também ter essa uniformização e essa mesma linguagem entre a
Uhum.
nossa associação e a própria TEMS, porque a TEMS também sempre foi uma organização muito próxima da nossa no quadro desta adaptação. Começou pela visita, não é? Começou pela primeira visita antes mesmo de iniciar o projeto, não é? Tivemos a TEMS aqui para podermos contactar as instituições, falar com as mulheres nas comunidades, e isso então deu uma percepção geral de como é que é o nosso contexto, apesar de ser aprofundado, como eu disse, com especialistas de áreas da lei BBG, com especialistas da área da questão do
Uhum.
africanismo, que são questões que que nós discutíamos muito sobre isso para poder ter consensos.
Uhum.
Mas, como eu disse, através deste estudo aprofundado, essa proximidade de estar perto, contactar as pessoas, conseguimos manter e caminhar com o projeto sempre primado na qualidade, por ter essa visão,
Uhum.
não é, de estar
Uhum.
próximo e perto
Uhum.
e perto das
Thank you.
comunidades, como eu disse. Um outro exemplo que eu posso
Mm.
também partilhar em termos também dessa manutenção da qualidade, como eu disse, tem a ver com as parcerias
Hey,
estratégicas.
Nair.
Sim,
You just said something very interesting. You said that it's like we have to stay really close to communities.
pode.
So can you share with us, because that example of that you gave around how different the discourse on race in Brazil and Cape Verde is, and how you had to really contextualize it to local communities. Can you share a little bit about how you actually involved community members in the adaptation? Because you just said we stayed very close to communities. So, what did you do and how did you do that?
A nossa ideia, desde o início, desde a elaboração, essa proximidade foi pensada desde a concepção do projeto. Ah, para a preparação da nossa proposta de projeto, tínhamos que apresentar um vídeo. O que é que fizemos? Fomos à comunidade, não é? Contactamos uma líder comunitária que foi a cara do vídeo, uma mulher da comunidade que fez o vídeo, falou sobre a importância, não é, da formação deste treinamento para a comunidade, falou sobre também a sua experiência, não é, enquanto mulher na comunidade, não tendo formação, mas como é que seria se tivessem. Então começamos por ali, por dar voz, não é, à comunidade no primeiro momento da concepção do projeto. Após conseguirmos, não é, o projeto, também desde o ato da apresentação pública foram convidadas, mas também, sobretudo, porque nós sabemos que o envolvimento da comunidade é fundamental mesmo para garantir a sustentabilidade do projeto futuro. Porque o projeto e
Mhm.
este programa é mesmo das comunidades, não é? Não é da organização. E essa é a nossa visão. E por isso,
Mhm.
ter, não é, essas mulheres sempre presentes em todas as fases do projeto. Dizia que após, não é, após termos conseguido o projeto, então por exemplo, na comunidade de Calabaceira, a dona Zéza foi convidada para fazer a inscrição de outras mulheres no curso. Ela orientou todo este trabalho de mobilizar, de contactar as outras mulheres, incentivando as outras mulheres para fazerem a inscrição, participou do processo de seleção dessas mulheres no curso, motivou sempre todas essas mulheres para irem o curso, mantendo a assiduidade, mantendo a participação. Ainda no pós-curso, essas mulheres não elaboram planos de atividade, fazem atividades, é mesmo por ter essa envolvência, não é? Por sentirem-se envolvidas desde o início da concessão, apropriaram-se do projeto
Mhm.
e tornaram aquilo como próprio, não é? E sentiram-se isso que era o benefício para a comunidade, porque todas as
Mhm.
atividades aconteciam,
Mhm.
estavam a ser envolvidas, convidadas, participaram, então, e todo esse processo de sentirem-se também importantes na tomada de
Mhm.
decisão. não é? A inscrição, a seleção, o ouvir essas mulheres da comunidade, como é que achas? Os pré-requisitos, acha que isso deve ser, isso não deve ser? Essa mulher tem perfil, não tem, participa, é ativa ou não? O ouvir então essas mulheres foi fundamental para sentirem-se mesmo importantes e darem o seu
Hum,
contributo durante todo o processo.
hum,
Como eu disse, após a formação ainda estamos no terreno a trabalhar e
hum,
essas mulheres continuam ativas e envolvidas com
hum.
motivação para continuarem.
Amazing. Thank you, Nair, so much. I know there's so many stories we can share and so many experiences to share. We've got about 10 minutes left, so we're going to open up the Q&A if anybody has any questions for
Antes
Nair.
de, eu não sei se, antes eu queria só complementar, eu não sei se o meu tempo já esgotou, queria só complementar uma coisa muito importante. Posso?
Sure, yes, but just very short, because yes, it's up.
Muito, sim, bem curtinha, porque isto é muito importante. Porque com essa envolvência, isso é para verem como é importante envolver a comunidade nos projetos. Porque com essa envolvência dessas mulheres, então o dinamismo e a entrega permitiu com que essas mulheres criarem um serviço de informação à DBG na sua comunidade, não é? Tiveram esse dinamismo
Mm,
através de um espaço que essa organização tinha, então criaram um serviço de informação AVBG na comunidade, onde prestam apoios e orientações a outras mulheres. Não é neste momento e neste momento este espaço, este serviço é um espaço seguro de escuta, de acolhimento e de orientação a outras mulheres na comunidade. E isso é extraordinário.
mm. That is extraordinary, actually. And it does sound like it's actually not the organization that's at the forefront, but community members themselves, which is exactly the ideal programming. And that means you must have spent so much time and energy and relationship building with your community members. It's an amazing example, Nair. Thank you so much. And you can read more about Nair's work in some of the pitfalls. There's two examples from Cape Verde, actually. And yeah, feel free to ask any questions that you might have. You can do it in the chat or the Q&A. Either is fine. And as we're waiting for those to come in, I will ask Paula just to switch on the slides real quick, so we can multitask. And we're just going to share a little bit about, as I said before, this is a community that grew and is continuing to grow. So we really appreciate all of you on the call. And if you are engaging in adaptations, we hope that you might be able to participate in some of the upcoming events and also engage with resources. So at the forum in Bangkok, there will be a pre-conference workshop, and that is through with a variety of hosts, including Womanity, What Works, Prevention Collaborative, UC San Diego, and Raising Voices. And it's a pre-conference workshop, so there's enough time, right, to really get into the deep work of adaptation, what it all means. We also wanted to flag that there's a new guide that's coming out shortly from the Prevention Collaborative and UNFPA Asia Pacific around how to adapt programs in Southeast Asia. So those are two things that are welcome. Next slide, please. And we also just wanted to really welcome you all to contribute. If you'd like to, please connect with us and share stories. We are very open to continuing to grow the microsite. We also really want to build community. We know that the best work comes when this work is done together, and we can learn so much from each other. So we really want to encourage that and to expand the site as we might be able to. And so let's go back to the questions. Yeah, Nasanet said if you don't have a question, yeah, share your adaptation experience. I see Tina's on and she's been deep in adaptations with What Works Too, and there's so many adaptation programs going on there. Um, would be useful to hear more about how you navigated partnerships. Yeah, so that's a really critical question. Nasanet or Nair, would you like to comment on that? Navigating partnerships can be very challenging. Would you like to share? Got just like 2 minutes.
Yeah,
Isso.
I think, okay.
Eu
Maia.
posso. Rapidamente, eu vou usar um minutinho para a minha colega poder usar o outro. Aqui, sim, as parcerias é um desafio, foi um desafio para nós. Mas nós também temos casos de sucesso relativamente às parcerias, porque para nós também as parcerias é estratégico para a sustentabilidade do programa. Vou dar um exemplo concreto, por exemplo, da Universidade de Cabo Verde. Como sabem, o nosso programa é um programa de treinamento para o empoderamento legal. Então, uma das parcerias estratégicas seria com a Universidade de Cabo Verde, que nos apoiou, abraçou o programa também inicialmente e funcionou muito bem. Funcionou muito bem, porque deu-nos um grande suporte ao nível de apoio, a nível de elaboração do programa do curso, ao nível também dos materiais didáticos pedagógicos, ao nível dos facilitadores para também orientar o curso. Disponibilizou-nos uma estagiária para dar todo o apoio logístico, não é? Durante a sessão, as sessões de informação. E também, sobretudo, queria frisar aqui com a certificação do nosso programa. Então, para nós, isso é muito importante, porque é um certificado que credibiliza, é muito credibilizado na nossa sociedade por isso, não é? Por ter um carimbo na Universidade de Cabo Verde e que para nós é um ato também de muita satisfação. E essa parceria funcionou bem e continua a funcionar.
Hum,
Claramente que teremos outros desafios, por exemplo, com
hum,
os parceiros, principalmente a nível financeiro, mas penso que, sobretudo, ressaltar
hum,
que funcionou ao nível da Universidade de Cabo Verde, que para
hum.
nós foi fundamental.
Thank you so much, Nair. And finding partners that are, they're already established and going to be there, right? So integrating into their work rather than setting up all sorts of new things. So that's a really great example. Nesnet, I don't know if you want to say one or two quick things.
No, I was just going to say partnership requires intentionality from onset, kind of defining the way of engagement, rule of engagement helps a lot. Like in our case, we would start by doing memorandum of understanding, articulating how we are going to collaborate, but also bringing the heart and the interest to be personal helps a lot, because trust and relationship requires intentionality and time. And the longer you collaborate, I think usually it gets easier.
That's right. Thank you so much, Nesanet, and thank you all. Thank you, SVRI, for helping us co-host. Thank you to all of you who came. I know it's really hard to even find an hour of our time sometimes, so we really appreciate you joining. And we really hope that you feel a little bit more connected in. You can go to the last slide. We hope you feel a little bit more connected in to this group of folks, and also to some of the ideas that are emerging in adaptations. And we hope to see you at SVRI, the forum in Bangkok. And we also, please get in touch with us. The contact information's on the website, and we would love to engage with you further. Thank you so much, everybody, and take care. Be well.